Well, excuse me, just a tiny update. I got my machined pistons back, so he's made a lovely job of them. Cost me 96 quid to get the two pistons machined, but hey ho. So yeah, 2.4 mil off the squish, and then 2.4 mil off the flat top of the dome. You can see that they've been turned in a lathe. There's the centre. And then he's blended as best as he can, I suppose, a new radius on the dome here into the existing radius, so we didn't remove too much stuff. So he actually gave me a phone call to talk to me about this and said there might be a tiny little ridge left, which there is just around there, but that can come out with a bit of sandpaper. So the other thing I've got to do is where the spark plug comes in at an angle, something like that, on this head, it is going to contact this edge. So I'm going to have to file a chamfer on here so we get at least, I would say, a couple of mil clearance between an electrode and the piston. So I haven't measured anything yet, but the squish now looks right. That's round about at top dead, and it's way below, but I can't do the new compression ratio measurements quite yet or anything like that, because I did find out that the crank web is contacting the liner. Now so this is the front head. I'll just lift that off, and I blued up so you can see there is just where the crank web is contacting this liner, nowhere else, because the crank web is only over this side on this cylinder, and then basically the same on this cylinder. There's a bit of contact when you torque the head down. So I'll try and show you that with a bit of hand juggling. So let's get a bit of light. So if you look up there, what I need to check is you can just see the bottom of the liner with the blue dye on, just up there, and on this cylinder it's this crank web. It's the crank web on the left that is contacting that crank web there, that is contacting the bottom of the liner as it rotates. So I will just try and let's see if we can do this. Hold on, it needs a few different hands, this, to sort this out. I'll see if I can light it with my head torch. Hold the camera in my hand and rotate the crank with the other hand. So here comes our crank, and now you'll see that crank web just going up, and it just nudges the bottom of the liner about there. But also what I'm looking at here is, if you can see the bottom of the piston skirt just coming down, and I wanted to check how much of that liner is in contact with the piston at bottom dead center. So that's bottom dead center, so you can just make out that the piston skirt is about 5 mil below the liner. So I think what this tells me overall, I think, is that these are the wrong pistons for this engine, but that's the ones we're using, and that's what we're going to use. I don't know what they're for, but I think in hindsight the the deck height, so the distance between the gudgeon pin and the bottom of the skirt and the gudgeon pin and the top of the crown were wrong for this engine. But I've machined them now, that 2.4 mil. There's nothing wrong with that skirt coming down that far, as long as it doesn't hit anything, which it doesn't. It's miles away from the crank web on the other side. Heaps of clearance there, so I don't think it's going to be an issue at all, to be honest. And if it is, well, I can always relieve the bottom of the piston. But you can basically see, I mean, even look at the clearance there between the con rod and the timing shaft. Is only a few millimeters. It's not very far. So yeah, so it is what it is. So what I've got to do now is just take a file and or a Dremel to bottom of the liners, just in a couple of spots, just to relieve it, just so that we can't have any contact between the crank and the bottom of the liner. And then once I've done that and cleaned it all up again, because obviously you don't want to put anything that we've been filing or sanding back in this engine. Once I've done that, we can then put piston back in and do a compression ratio check and put the clay back in and see what clearances we've got between piston and head and valves, etc. So yeah, that's about it really. And yeah, so just got to take a bit off there, a bit off the other liner, and move on.